Hello, everybody. A very warm welcome from our company IBC, wherever you are, all over the globe. We are very excited to show you all the latest and greatest in research from our research labs on how scaled agile and AI can work together to provide a complete, AI-powered future ways of working. And we are very excited and honored to have Dr. Steve Mayner from Scaled Agile with us. So, Dr. Steve, I'll pass it to you to introduce yourself.
Sure. Thanks, Dr. Wiselin. My name is Dr. Steve Mayner. I'm, as Wiselin said, I'm with Scaled Agile. I'm the VP of our framework team and methodologist, practicing still. We are the team inside of Scaled Agile that does the research, does the writing of the Scaled Agile framework, the articles that you're hopefully familiar with from our Scaled Agile framework website. Been with the company for approaching 9 years now, so I go pretty far back to the early days of when the company was formed, and have seen it grown into, the use across the world in every industry that we see today. So I'm delighted to be a part of today's discussion and happy to add value however I can.
Thank you, Dr. Steve. And also to let the world know, Dr. Steve is also my mentor here. So he's been a very guiding light in our, not only my journey, but also our company's journey all through these years. So thank you, Dr. Steve. So again, to quickly introduce myself, my name is Wiselin. I'm also the Chief Transformation Officer here at IBC. We are partners with Scaled Agile. We are proud platinum partners. And also we are partners with, in this specific webinar, we are going to showcase also ServiceNow, because we are going to show AI on top of ServiceNow. We're also proud partners of ServiceNow, but our software works on top of multiple platforms. Doesn't matter if it's Jira or ADO, but we are very excited to, to join you all in today's webinar. And one of my team members, Gladden, gave this to me, and I was really excited, that we are talking about AI. And this statement stuck to my mind. The best way to predict the future is to create it. And that's what we are we are attempting here at IBC. And we are really excited to take this further. So today, to keep the agenda short, we are going to talk about the problem statement. What is that we are solving? How does Scaled Agile provide a framework to help it? How AI is a core competency in Scaled Agile. Then we're going to show a solution. The second half of the presentation, we're going to show you hands-on demo, the premiere of our Ethereal Agility software. And also we're going to
those are weighed down.
We are going to
weighed down by.
We're also going to end the webinar with some call to actions and some toolkits for you all. Okay, cool. Now, what is the problem statement? So the problem statement is wherever I go, any large company or small company, doesn't matter. The leaders are always like, Wiselin, is there a way to get progress of all the things going in our company? Is there a way that all our strategies are aligned to execution? If we hire more people, does it mean we will do faster delivery? What are the right type of skills do we hire? Now, how do we do trade-off decisions at the portfolio? How do we pivot or adjust? So there's a lot of these questions. How do we prioritize all the work coming in? How can AI help with all of these things? These are some big problems with the portfolio management, and time and again. So here I have synthesized some of the biggest problems which comes to my ears when we are in the field as a consultant implementing, implementing Scaled Agile or any tool, doesn't matter. These are some standard questions which comes to our ears. And how do we pivot from project-based funding to product value stream-based funding? How do we even do that? How do we even know where to invest money to get maximum value proportion? Because, from the constraints that we have on capacity, time, and everything else. So how do we make a decision-making framework work? So all of these are questions, and we are going to attempt to solve this in a demo today. So what we're going to start with is I'm going to pass it to Dr. Steve to showcase how SAFe has the lean portfolio management, the why behind how we are approaching the solution of this problem. Over to Dr. Steve.
Thank you, Dr. Wiselin. It's been, as we all know, quite a number of years now since the the discussions of Agile and even Lean as a new way of working, a different way of working that started in the 1990s and early 2000s. And here we are in 2024, almost 2025. Organizations are certainly comfortable now with Agile at the team and the team of teams level as how work gets done. We're still seeing today, though, a struggle with the rest of the organization, particular at that higher level leader level that has the responsibility for making decisions on what products are we going to build, how are we going to prioritize, how are we going to fund. And we're seeing that still today there is a dichotomy between the mindset and approach that those leaders have. They're still oftentimes stuck in a project management metaphor that focuses on measuring progress and planning around activities versus focusing on the product itself and the customer. And so we're still seeing that shift. I will tell you, though, what we're seeing at Scaled Agile, however, is there is a lot of focus and a lot of demand coming to us, asking us for more information, more guidance, more help to implement a set of practices that we call lean portfolio management for those leaders, so that how they make those decisions are in alignment and in synergy with the lean agile practices that the teams are using to actually build those products. Where Dr. Wiselin is showing our most recent iteration of our visualization of the heart of the practices of what we call the Scaled Agile framework. And Dr. Wiselin, if you can go ahead and click to the next slide, I want to focus in on just that top section of iconography, which really is the heart of what is a portfolio, what are the roles, who are the people that manage that portfolio. And you see it, it's organizing around teams of teams and value streams with a specific product on the other end that customers are going to be delighted with. And how do we make sure that the decisions are made, the right decisions are made to prioritize, fund, manage, operate those products in the marketplace? That's really what LPM is all about. If you go ahead and click on the next slide. So for some number of years, as you double click into, all right, so that sounds great, how do they do what they do? At the heart is what we now, with this new visualization that we released at the DC Summit, we have a name for it: portfolio leadership. That's that set of leaders who are held accountable for that portfolio of products that they're responsible for. They are responsible for that strategy, investment, funding. They also make sure the other triangles are happening too, right? The lean governance. And since we're going to focus on AI today, one of the lean governance things that portfolio set of leaders is now going to need to be responsible for is, if we're going to use AI, we need to have some responsible AI practices and policies in place as we build our products, specifically if those products have AI in them. Who's going to make sure that those policies are followed? Well, it's the leaders of the portfolio have oversight responsibility for those practices. And then we have, oversight of the operation. So that's in essence, how we explain what LPM is, and how those responsibilities are carried out. Next slide, please. But how do they do that? How do they do this differently than in the previous days, which is where I began my career? I went through the PMI PMP certification many years ago, and started as a project manager and a program manager. So why is this different? Well, it's different because we're not focusing on just, let's plan all the tasks and build the dependencies, and we hope at the end we end up with a product that's going to be useful to the customer. As most of you know, it's a focus on the actual working system itself, and what are the outcomes, not the outputs, that are going to delight our customers. Our portfolio leaders have an important set of responsibilities. They need to look at a lot of different variables to decide what are the priorities? What are the best products? How are we going to manage the development of those products in an iterative, lean, and agile way? How do we pivot when the early results, the early feedback from customers tell us maybe that wasn't the right decision? Maybe they like this, but they don't like that. This is our way of sort of illustrating how those leaders make those decisions. We affectionately refer to it as the strategy bug. They have this responsibility of connecting enterprise strategy to the execution, the building of the product, and they do that with the benefit of a lot of information, right? They need to understand who our company is, what our mission is, what our values are, what our strategy is, what are our business drivers, what distinguishes us in the marketplace, what are our goals, what's the competition look like, what does our current set of products look like, how does that fit in the marketplace, what is in progress. All of these things have to come to bear when those leaders are making decisions, particularly if those decisions are in response to something that's happening in the market. All right. Since we're talking about AI, let's use that as an example, right? So you're a portfolio leader, you're on a portfolio leadership team, and all of a sudden here comes generative AI into your market, into the competitive space that you operate in. And you start seeing your competitors releasing AI-driven features that provide amazing new capabilities to the customers in that market, and you're behind, right? That's going to lead to a shift in strategy. But a shift in strategy is only effective if you can execute on it. So you can imagine that group of portfolio leaders looking at all these variables, understanding we don't have an unlimited amount of money to change our product. So how are we going to make choices? How are we going to increase the prioritization of maybe some of our AI features and deprioritize some of the other work we thought we were going to do? That's a lot of information to sift through. And historically, that's not been easy for portfolio leaders to do. Trust me, I've met and talked with many of them. It's one of the challenges they have. There's so many things they need to consider. How are they confident that they're making the right choices? And that's really where I think the work that Dr. Wiselin and IBC are doing is so phenomenal, because the data is out there. It's sitting in the organization. The challenge is, how do we get to it, and how do we turn a sea of big data into concise, purposeful information that we can use to make decisions? And AI can certainly help us with that. So with that, Dr. Wiselin, I think that's the passing of the baton to show what you're doing with AI to help those portfolio leaders make those decisions.
Absolutely, Doctor. One more topic here, Doctor. I think we'll take your input to introduce how AI as a competency in Scaled Agile. So if you could also help us give a quick brief on the 3 dimensions.
Sure, absolutely. So if you've been following us for any amount of time, you will have noticed that all the way back in 2021, we started adding some guidance articles in the Scaled Agile framework discussing AI. Now, remember, that was before ChatGPT burst onto the scene in November of 22 when they made it publicly available. So we saw it coming. We knew it was going to be big. We knew all of our customers would be impacted by it. So we wanted to start providing some guidance. We've since updated that guidance. And so if you look in SAFe 6.0 now, you'll see an AI competency article that describes 3 core things organizations need to be really, really good at. And we're going to focus in the rest of the presentation that Dr. Wiselin is going to provide us on this first area, the AI augmented workforce. How do we unleash the power of AI to help our employees, not replace them, how to augment them, how to make them more productive by letting technology do what technology does best: sift through massive amounts of information, accelerate the speed at which that information can turn into useful decision-making tools or whatever our workforce needs to do their job. So there's some guidance we provided around that. The second dimension is, what do we need to think about if we're actually going to build AI into our solutions? That has some practices of people, process, and technology that we need to add into our organization. And then lastly, if we're going to do any of the above, as I mentioned earlier, we need to understand AI is different. It has some unique risks that we've not had to deal with in the past. And so our responsible AI guidance really raises the awareness for organizations as you go down this path, even adopting what Dr. Wiselin is going to share with you today. You need to understand what the implications of AI are and have those both policies and technologies in place to protect your organization, so you don't end up like some other organizations that have been in the headlines over the last few months, where they made some pretty big mistakes with their AI and it didn't turn out too well for them. So that guidance is there. It's available for you on the Scaled Agile Framework website in our AI article, and would definitely invite you to explore that. Hopefully you'll find it to be helpful.
Thank you, Dr. Steve. I am very appreciative of that insight that Dr. Steve gave, because now using those guidelines, we now want to see how we can solution this. So our research labs kind of worked to take those guidelines and see how can we empower the portfolio management with the tools and techniques that they will need to create future ways of working. Okay, so we are going to introduce a AI-powered decision intelligence framework. And I'm sure you all have seen this many times, that's people, process, tools, and you can't separate them anymore. But the punchline here, it is people, process, tools kept together by AI is a very important piece of the puzzle here that I'm going to attempt to solve. And let's walk through this step by step. So this has been our mantra for the last 3-4 years in our research labs. And to further that, let's say I go for a company and I say, why, when we talk about AI, every leadership has wanting to do something with AI, but they're like, Wiselin, is that a sit, walk, crawl, run, fly approach? Absolutely, yes. And many times I look at many organizations' portfolio metrics and dashboards. It's like a bunch of vanity metrics with no insights possible. So even in the stage number 1 of maturity, you also see on the top left-hand corner how over the years, the world has evolved from how you cannot anymore today decouple data business decisions anymore. It's all very tightly coupled, and every decision made is a data decision, is the way it is. And in the right-hand side, even in the phase number 1 of maturity, which is decision support, even if there are people making decisions, there's a lot of value add in with insights providable with deeper analytics and AI. And slowly we go into decision augmentation, and then slowly we mature into decision automation. And today we are going to showcase some of these pieces hands-on in the second half of our presentation here. But let me set the stage. Now, I know that Gen AI has been all over the world. ChatGPT really put it on the map and all that. So the problem is Gen AI is good, but it's not the only thing in AI. So in IBC, we do something called composite AI, and we need to bring in all the pieces, what you see there, which is a simulation, machine learning, generative models, rules, graphs, optimization models, and all of this coming together is what it makes powerful. Yeah, definitely Gen AI is a big piece of the puzzle, but it's not all. And that's something very important. And just to, I like this picture from Gartner, where it very clearly articulates, for example, prediction. Today, we are going to show you a lot of prediction forecasting. And if you see Gen AI's impact is kind of less, but we are going to show you conversational language to show that, and that helps. But if you see in each and every segment, the impact Gen AI heavily is in the content generation, conversational. Yeah. So in our demo that we are going to show, we are going to show how all of these pieces come together. And that's what makes it powerful. Composite AI is the thing that we are going to demonstrate today. And let me show you. Now, with the help of composite AI, you see that when you don't provide a decision intelligence framework, all of this is fragmented. Even if you do analytics, insights, AI, on the left-hand side, you see how data is the common platform. And You see that GenAI is there, data science is there, AI is there, analytics is there. But what we are going to demonstrate right now is an intelligence framework which orchestrates all of these pieces and gives the decision makers a crisp, visualization of recommendations. So how do we do that? How are we going to do that? So let me take a use case. Let's take a step back. And if you take one of the key things that is in every portfolio management's mind, one of the things, obviously, there are many other things apart from the financial health. Financial health is absolutely one of the key things the portfolio management focus on, apart from prioritization, governance, and many other things. But if you're boiling down to dollars at this point, this is a sample income statement. And if you're all going to any earning calls, you will hear the word EBITDA, repeated in all the earnings statements. And that's something what people want to really, showcase. Why? Because I want to show you something here. Dr. Steve would also very clearly explain how one of the key things what portfolio management focuses on is strategy at the portfolio management level. So when the portfolio management is trying to make decisions, its goal is to increase the profit and decrease the cost. And the gap becomes the margin. Margin is what is very important. And you will see in the earning calls, if any one of these things are missed, then you see share markets go crazy all over the place. Meaning now we need an optimization framework, which is now available as a tool for the portfolio management leaders to make all the decisions and insights and simulations to make sure that they are working on the latest and greatest prioritized work. Do they have capacity? If they even need to hire, what specific skills they need to hire, targeted pieces and all that. Okay, so that's what we are going to showcase now, an optimization model, and we are very excited. Now, how did we do this, right? So let's stick to some of the basics from the Scaled Agile framework. And I really love this diagram because, the way you are seeing here is a business opportunity identified here. At the end, there is value, meaning there is trigger to value for a value stream. And obviously, the punchline is you want to left shift it. You want to left shift the time between the trigger and value. To do that, there are these three buckets of metrics which Scaled Agile beautifully articulates. In a way, it kind of summarizes all the metrics of Scaled Agile in one picture, in a way, because there are these outcome metrics. That's why we are all doing what we are doing. We want OKRs, KPIs, incremental PI objectives by every team trains, and then there is iteration goals. We want to maximize these outcomes, but are we doing it in a fast, efficient way is what the flow metric says. How are we fast enough? And all these data is coming from the team level, art level, bottoms up. And then are we doing it? Are we using the latest and greatest in practices of agility? That's what the 7x321 dimensions and the competency metrics gives in Scaled Agile. How are we doing it? How fast are we? And what are the outcomes? And we took all of these metrics, and here is again another view of a balanced scorecard from the team, from a team of teams and a portfolio level as it applies to all these metrics. And the thought process that we are doing here is we are digitalizing the brain. So here is a interesting story. Like 3 months back, I went to San Francisco. I tell it everywhere because it's a beautiful experience for me, a crazy experience. And I took my family there and we ordered a car, and there was a driverless car. It's like no driver in one of the busiest streets in San Francisco. And there was no driver. And if I can put my family's life in with trust with the AI, all of that what we are seeing right now here is nothing. Story point estimation is nothing. Roadmap prediction is nothing. Capacity allocation, everything is nothing, and it's everything, and everything is possible. Every day, my team, when I wake up, was saying that they automated something, and it's just disruptive. Now, the point is, we're going to showcase a hands-on demo now for the remaining 30 minutes on the value optimization model, because how do we put this to action? How can a portfolio management use this? So we are very excited. So let's go straight into the demo. All right. So let's do this. All right. So let's do a small screen stop share, move things around a little bit. All right. All right. Give me a second. So we are going to showcase some beautiful key pieces. I believe that is very critical to make this whole experience work for your portfolio management. So let me start here. All right. Hopefully you all can see my screen. Yep. So what I'm going to show here is a one-click approach. Now, data is key for AI. You all know that. But the problem is, if people are not using the various tools, then there is no data. When there is no data, there is no AI. So what we have in every company that we transform, we create a one-click approach. So for example, if I'm a portfolio manager, one click, show me my stuff. If I'm a team member, one click, show me my stuff. One click OKR, one click, and it's always has AI powered here with a conversation through generative AI we are going to showcase. So this is a one-click approach. So let me tell a story. Let's take that we have an organization. So I'm going to click at the enterprise level here. And I think it will take me to ServiceNow, I believe. And we are going to showcase our product. Our product is a bolt-on on top of any ALM software out there. It can be ServiceNow, it can be ADO, Azure DevOps, it can be Jira, doesn't matter. So in ServiceNow, they have a beautiful module called Enterprise Agile Planning. And what you're seeing here is an example of a banking sector kind of an example where you see all these value streams here. And for example, digital banking listed here is a full safe configuration. You will see that in a second. It has two solution trains under which there are two arts. And if you scroll down, there is essential safe configuration for media and content. And there is also a solution train for HR and finance. So there will be multiple portfolios, and there may be an enterprise portfolio management to keep all of this together as a hub and spoke model, maybe. So today in this demo, we are going to take the example of this digital banking as one portfolio and see how it can we can use AI to provide the decision makers of the strategy leaders that that Dr. Steve mentioned about, to give them the necessary tools to make decisions. Okay, so now that we know the context of the organization and which portfolio we're going to do, let's assume that I'm wearing the hat of a portfolio leader and I want to know, okay, how are we doing right now in our portfolio roadmap? All right, great. So let me click on this. So when I click on this, any tool does this. So I can zoom in a little bit here, zoom out. Yeah, when you see here, any tool kind of gives you an idea of the work done at the portfolio, where these are like epics. And you can also see that these epics are associated with these goals or OKRs. No problem. And you see that there is one epic which is in progress, and looks like it has furthered by 25%, and looks like all other epics in this portfolio has not furthered. Fine. The problem in the real world, I'm sure you all would agree, is when you see this 25%, how did they even get this 25%? Can this data be trusted? In any ALM tool, if you go, the way this percentage progress is calculated is either by, okay, number of story points planned by accepted. Okay, fine. That will constantly change all through the period. Or number of stories planned by accepted. Okay, fine. It's again a number. Yeah, it's useful metric, but these numbers constantly change all over the time. So is this 25% progress trustable to holistically make a decision on what's going on? Or in some ALM tools, what you can do is the portfolio leaders and whoever is accountable for managing the execution here can go and punch in the percentage manually. So all of this is possible, but I don't think that's dynamic enough. If I can put my family's life with AI, how can AI help to give a real life scenario for this progress, execution, and prediction? So that is the intent. So let me go back to my one-click approach here. And that's where we are introducing our product, Ethereal Agility. And it was coined by our lead, Anthony. And I asked him, what does this even mean? And he said that it is out of the world. So I'm like, okay, fine, that makes sense. Let's keep it out of the world, Ethereal Agility. So when you click on this product, it sits as a bolt-on on top of Jira or Azure DevOps or in this case, ServiceNow. It doesn't matter what software that you all use. And you can very easily in one click connect to the appropriate one click. You just connect to the appropriate LLMs, ALMs. In this case, we're going to demonstrate ServiceNow. And the software takes care of everything else as long as you provide those necessary connections. And again, it has to be done in a very responsible way. Like Dr. Steve mentioned, all of this is very critical. In our company, there are two key themes. Responsible AI is number one. Number two is frugal AI. Frugal AI. That's really beautiful. Our team believes in frugal AI because people in the name of AI are throwing money off. And it's actually not, if you do it correctly with proper governance as dictated by Scaled Agile with some modules, you don't have to throw money, and all the lean agile principles of guidance given by Scaled Agile helps you to implement AI in a beautiful way without pivoting. When an experiment is failing, can we pivot and adjust? All the guidance are there. So every knowledge article was Scaled Agile done is absolutely useful to implement the AI framework. And that is beautiful. So I believe personally that Scaled Agile governance framework and AI is a very happy marriage. I believe it's a happy marriage with beautiful children coming out shortly, which I'm going to demonstrate. Now, let's assume I'm a portfolio lead, and I want to know leaders, CEOs, CTOs, they're like, Wiselin, tell me how my OKRs are going. Okay, fine, just one click, right? And now when you go to this goals for the enterprise, you can very clearly see that the UI, I have to slowly walk you through here because it's a new time you're seeing a UI. It has like the value tab here. It has the timeline tab here. It has the capacity tab here, the cost indirectly, right? The capacity tab here. And if I look at this picture, it shows that there are two OKRs in progress. Okay, fine. And then it shows that a tab here in the middle. And if you look at the color of the tab, that directly matches with the wand color here, the AI wand color here. Because this is a goal, what AI is recommending based upon all the portfolio backlog work out there, the AI is recommending, guys, considering where you are today, the AI is recommending to the portfolio leaders that, guys, I really think that, I know you're all working on this too, but I really think that you should consider this goal of expand product and service offering into consideration, and it is recommending that. Okay, fine. By looking at your portfolio backlog, fine. Let's assume I'm a portfolio facilitator as a manager, and I'm with a VMO maybe, and the VMO in the portfolio management is facilitating a discussion with the portfolio leaders. And let's assume that before even we consider this, let's go and see the other tabs, how it looks. Okay, fine. Now, when you look at this, it shows that as it stands today, it is giving a warning that, guys, based upon the current progress, you guys will not be on target with whatever you are planning. You will be only 55.8% complete by the time, let's assume you're trying to go certain things, go live by Q2 of 2025. You won't be on target. It is predicting. It's not a status. It is predicting. And more importantly, it is saying that keeping the capacity as standard, something has to be fixed, right? All these things can be fixed, but keeping the capacity as fixed, it's saying that, you know what, totally, when you all started this journey together in the portfolio management, you were anticipating around 267 plus 211, which is around 400K. But guess what? You will not get the value you are planning to get. It's giving you a warning that you're not going to be on target for all the value. Okay, now let us go and look at a different slice of that. Now, if you look at the timeline view right here, and I can go to a monthly or an annual view, it is saying here the difference in the view that you are seeing here as opposed to the ALM tool, you saw that only one epic was in progress. It is saying that, guys, you're not going to be on track and it's going to be extended by so much time. Plus, all the other work, what you had planned, also is not going to be on track. And that's why the whole roadmap is going to be off. And it is predicting. It's not a status percentage. It is predicting with deeper insights. And now the portfolio management is worried. Nobody wants to see these red things. And let's say, look at the capacity angle. It says, man, we are short of all these resources, but is hiring the right option? Sometimes when I go to the portfolio management, there is always a constant hunger to hire more people, hire more people, hire more people, because sometimes we think that the pain will go away if we just hire people, and sometimes it does not solve the problem. So as it stands today, this is what the equation it shows, but is there ways to optimize this whole equation? So what can we do about it? So let's see another use case here for a what-if analysis. For example, even before I show you more AI, now what we can do is, fine, AI is recommending this one goal at the portfolio level. Why don't we consider this? So when you move this here, you will see that the $267,000 value proportion now changes to a bigger number. Great. But the problem is now the other two buttons became red even more. The roadmap became more red because you're taking in more scope, and also the capacity became even more bad. Also, you can go and look at the timeline view of how this whole thing is now standing. It became even more red, but the value increased a little bit than the last time. So what do we do? How do we handle this situation? Is when we use the optimization wand here, the magic wand here. And when you click on this wand, our asteroid, IBC's asteroid engine wakes up and it optimizes the whole scenario. It looks at all the bottoms up and top down scenario, looks at the goals, the value proportions and everything. And it looks at capacity planning, which specific resources are needed. And you see that the top 3 bars became green. Now the value proportion increased to 455K and the roadmap completion is 92% now, more predictable to be completed. And the capacity also kind of became green. Look, guess what else happened? Though people were planning to work on a particular scope called credit score, you will see here that it is recommending to descope it. It's saying, guys, I know you had planned for this, but there is something called requirements decay. And though you plan for it, as the time progresses and when you have new goals, this may not be the right thing that you're working on anymore. Pivot without mercy or guilt, as per the lean startup cycle advised by Scaled Agile. And it gives you a dynamic decision. And this changes every day based on the dynamic characteristics as well. And also one of the epics associated with the new goal is also saying, okay, guys, I know you brought in a new OKR, but don't take everything in that OKR. Just focus on one of those epics in that OKR. It gives a recommendation of not only the existing work, what you should do and not do, also looks at the new work coming in, the demand, and showcases some of the things that you should consider and not consider. And now let us go and look at capacity. It also now goes and gives targeted guidance to the portfolio management on where you should hire or reduce your workforce. It says that if you choose the right scopes, whatever is being suggested now, with the skill sets in play, it says that, it's also recommending this 4 is a nice to have. There is a headcount growth in every company in the portfolio, but it is not as dangerous as it was looking before. And it gives a targeted head growth on where you should target your hiring plan on. Hiring may not be the right reason all the time. Hiring the right resources and skills, it's kind of optimized, and it gives targeted guidance to the portfolio management to focus on investment and capacity planning. So the thought process here is, the thought process in this experiment what we have demonstrated here is to provide the portfolio management leaders, and all of this is pretty much grounded on the strategy bug, which Dr. Steve pointed out and walked us through, which is governed by portfolio managers, just that all of those data points are now slowly but steadily digitalized. When somebody comes to me and says that Wiselin, here is a problem, then our team immediately goes and does something called feature engineering, and we try to completely digitalize that situation on how a human brain will react. How will a portfolio management team react in case they have this? And it starts, even better, it starts predicting and forecasting, and we use composite AI to do that. Now, your question may be, Wiselin, all this is cool. I understand you're saying machine learning. I understand you're saying composite AI. I understand you're saying you're using rules, heuristics, and many other things to make this happen, to provide the optimal guidance on what scope a portfolio should choose and capacity and everything. How can you demonstrate Gen AI for us now? Let me showcase something to you. Now, let's assume I'm a business owner. The hypothesis of a business owner going to any tool and navigating into like 10 clicks and finding an answer is a failure. I have seen that time and again. So what happens if I'm a leader, I immediately ping somebody. Hey, I want to know how things are going. Let's say I'm going to a board meeting and somebody gets pinged. Maybe it's a RTE. Maybe it's somebody in the portfolio management team. Somebody gets pinged to say, hey, how are things going in this initiative? So what we did, we gave, and again, what you're seeing here is a conversational bot. In ServiceNow, there is something called virtual agent, and ServiceNow is a low-code, no-code platform. And what we did is we used some, and this sits on top of the ALM, and we designed something which can be a powerful app in every cell phone of a business owner. And if I'm a business owner and I want to know how is my digital banking initiative in a particular art working, so I can just ask a question, and this is all Gen AI because it has all the conversational aspects, content generation aspects in it. But in behind the scene, it works in conjunction with the other AI pieces. So I can go and ask a question, hey, how is my art for investment funding doing? I don't have to spell it correctly. It should be knowledgeable to auto-correct it. Based on the persona logged in, it already knows that this is the persona logged in, and it already knows that this persona is interested in this specific epic, in this portfolio, in this art. And then it goes and gives a percentage here. This percentage is the art flow predictability measure, but this is not a status. This may be even the first day of your PI, which is a time box, but it's like a soccer game. Before the game starts, or before a football game starts, it already knows that this team has an 80% chance of winning. But then as the match progresses, it keeps adjusting. So this may be even the second day of your PI, but it is predicting that you will not be on track. So now this business owner is worried and saying, what? Are you saying that by the end of this PI, my art flow predictability will be only this? So what will I know? I will say why. The software is also knowledgeable that based on the persona, if it's a product owner persona, it will give the guidance as per the persona. If it's a portfolio manager, it knows by the persona logged in, it is going to give you a recommendation. It's going to give you a reason that this is the reason which you should be concerned about, which is causing the problem. And now the business owner is like, okay, fine. How can I help? No problem. You click on that recommendation. It also gives you a recommendation on the, it looks like in this case, there is a resource issue in an architect and a couple of resources. If unblocked, looks like the flow may go smoother for the portfolio management. So all the things that you saw behind can just be a conversational aspect, and this is the Gen AI aspect of it. But behind the scene, all these other engines are working seamlessly to make it happen. And I believe that this is going to be one of the future ways of working. But then when I showcase any of my team's research abilities on this, and one of the common questions people ask me is, Wiselin, all this is great. Now, is my job safe? Is things safe? Are you doing it in a responsible way? How about my HIPAA data? I'm in the insurance company. I'm in the medical device company. I'm in the defense. All valid questions, and that's why we're going to talk a little bit more on responsible AI. But that is the story, what I read somewhere about the buffalo in the rain. And what is the story about buffalo in the rain, where I'm slowly wrapping down and going back to slides? Something which stuck to my mind when I was little was when the storm comes, there is a cow and there is a buffalo, and looks like the buffalo will run towards the rain. So yeah, it gets wet, it gets laughed upon, and then soon the storm passes and the buffalo is fine because it ran towards the storm. But the cow resists it. It runs away from the storm and gives thousands of reasons and excuses and many things, and it runs away and away from the storm, and it lives with the shame of getting wet for a long time. I humbly urge anybody listening to this video or this webinar to highly consider embracing the latest and greatest in technology and upskill yourself. Leaders, I see a lot of people with the invent of AI losing jobs and stuff. So leaders should invest in upskilling people. I cry out to the leaders to embrace frameworks like Scaled Agile and other pieces where there is innovation taught for each and every persona. One of the beautiful things that I liked in Scaled Agile when I started my journey, I have been in the journey for nearly since 2012. It's a long journey, 12 years of my journey with Scaled Agile, is that the framework has material for each and every persona, an architect persona, an engineer persona, a developer persona. And there is no other framework which gives thorough, and hence it looks sometimes kind of busy, but it is having guidelines for each and every persona, because drops of water make an ocean, and you can keep all of this together. Now, with this conversation, I would like to slowly take you back to some of the closing slides that we have, and we'll be happy to continue our conversation. So going back to our slides here, I would like to pass it back to Dr. Steve for any closing thoughts before I have, we wind up and take some questions if time permits. But Dr. Steve will allow you to finish some closing thoughts on this conversation, and then we'll close it out.
Yeah, the only thing I will say is this is a trend we've been tracking for a while. You go back to November of 22, which everybody kind of circles on the calendar, because that's when the public release of ChatGPT, a lot of people who had no awareness of AI, if they even heard about it, they thought it was science fiction or something, only in a lab. And that really changed the conversation. As anybody that knows this space knows, and Dr. Wiselin has highlighted, AI was actually around a long time before that. If you have Netflix, you've been using AI for a long time. If you have a cell phone and use your face to open it up, you've been using AI for a long time. What we're seeing with the advent of generative AI and all of the focus on AI that came after that is, yes, it all started with prompt engineering and can we ask an LLM the right set of questions and get really clever answers or get creative images or whatever the case may be. What we're seeing now is organizations like IBC, organizations like ServiceNow, like Atlassian, that we all use. They're in our organizations today. We're starting to see more and more day by day those AI features being built into the software we're already using. And with a lot of drag and drop kinds of interfaces that don't require the creation of a chatbot type of interaction. They may still have that capability, as Dr. Wiselin showed you, but there's a lot of other things they can bring to bear using AI behind the scenes to give you amazing capabilities far beyond what their software did previously. So my own encouragement, that I would add is, really look closely at organizations like IBC and your other software providers you have in your environment, and ask them tough questions. What capabilities are you bringing to your products that are AI driven? How do they work? How are you? I see some great questions in the chat. So clearly this group understands how these models work. Those are great questions to ask. Ask them how they do it. How do they train where does their training data coming from? How are they ensuring that they're following responsible AI practices? These are the conversations you need to be having. But the point is, for your workforce, being able to leverage this technology is going to get easier and easier as the way to leverage that technology moves from just being a chat interface to the kinds of very simple, integrated, drop-and click types of interactions that you saw today. So, Dr. Wiselin?
Thank you so much, Dr. Steve. So one more thing which I'm very excited to work with Dr. Steve is that we are working on a maturity assessment. If you're all you're familiar with the Scaled Agile framework, currently for each one of the 7 core competencies, there is a maturity assessment toolkit which is free for you all to download from Scaled Agile, which has been very useful for me to keep it grounded. Now, I'm closely working with Dr. Steve and on some of the 3 dimensions that Dr. Steve showcased and talked about. We are having this toolkit developed. We are working very closely with Dr. Steve to review them, and at the right time, if you're interested in this, the competency on saying, okay, where is my organization in? Where are the ways by which we can invest, where should we invest our most money on, and to make a maturity assessment. That way, from a sit, walk, crawl, run, fly, you can assess the AI adoption as it applies to your agile practices. We will be very happy to share with you all after it is the research is complete with Dr. Steve and Scaled Agile, and we'll be happy to give that to all the participants in this webinar. We'll be very excited. I'm very excited to work with Dr. Steve on that. And if you ask me one call to action, and then I'm happy to ladder in. If you take any top hit questions, I'm happy to take any questions and answer along with Dr. Steve. But if you ask me, one call to action is please develop your T-shaped skills. And this is a kind of diagram which I drew for myself some time back. If you see at the bottom, I have the Scaled Agile framework. As I said, I invested nearly 12 years of my prime life to pretty much research into and implement in very large organizations the framework, learn a lot of to do, what not to do. And I've been blessed to have great mentors like Scaled Agile, from Scaled Agile, like Dr. Steve and others in the framework team, and other people who have been guiding me. Now, if you see, that is beautiful, but that in conjunction with all the other pieces is beautiful. For example, let me mention a couple of more things. Around 2016 to 2019, my heart was completely in DevOps, and now it has evolved to MLOps. Now, I used to work heavily with Mark Ricks from the framework team, and we built a pipeline and everything for Scaled Agile on some pieces then. Because one day what happened, I was in a PI planning ceremony, and one of the developers came to me and said, Wiselin, I understand you want this incremental progress in system demos and all that, beautiful, but what is in this transformation for me? What does this mean to me? How can you enable me? Do you know I don't even have a test data? I don't even have a dev instance. I don't have all the... And then, so my point is, every day when I wake up, there is always something to learn and something to learn, and the width and depth of knowledge becomes a must. And for example, sometimes to be even dangerously knowledgeable is important. It's good enough. But then everybody, it doesn't matter what persona you're in this call, maybe a developer, a tester, a leader, an executive. I think there is a constant need to constantly upskill. And this is very beautifully articulated in all scaled agile courses. If you take any scaled agile course, T-shaped skill development is a must. And you would see this articulated in a particular competency called continuous learning competency. So please, please, please upskill yourself and get your T-shaped skills going. Because I would like to say, just because the cat closes its eyes, the world does not become dark. So AI is not going anywhere. If at all anything, it's only going to get bigger and bigger. So might as well embrace it, and God will bless you all for all your efforts for yourself, your family, your community, your organizations, your enterprise, and everything. So I think with that, I would like to formally end this webinar, and I would like to very, very sincerely from myself and from our company and would like to humbly thank Dr. Steve for being in this webinar. We really appreciate you, Dr. Steve, for all the encouragement and the guidance that you have given us all through this journey. I would like to thank also my team who has worked very hard. This 1 hour presentation and the video, the tool, the software. This is you are the world's first people to see our product, which some of the algorithms are not used anywhere in the whole world at this point to optimize based on multiple things. We also have automated PI planning. We also have automated many other modules out there. But maybe another day, another webinar, we can showcase automation of PI planning and other things. So I would like to humbly thank my team for all their hard work and dedication to this. With this, I think we'd like to end this webinar. If you have questions, I'm sure you have a lot of questions. Please, you can feel free to contact us because there's only 4 minutes. We'd like to let you all go. So have a great weekend. Have a blessed day ahead. God bless you all for attending. And again, thank you so much, Dr. Steve. Thank you, everybody. God bless you all. Take care. Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you, Dr. Steve.